So you may have just completed the Family Services Plan Part 4A, which is the imminent risk of out-of-home placement criteria checklist in order to show eligibility for core services. We're not quite done there because we actually have to do a service authorization for the core services. Basically what that means is we want to pay the provider. So in order to do that, we're going to go over to the workload button and get into service provider, that tab here in the secondary toolbar, in order to get to the service authorization section. So I'm going to pick one of the three children in order to open up a service. Let's say we're opening up a service for Janessa, for example. So I have her highlighted, and I'm going to click on Show, and then it shows that I have Janessa in focus. So this is a similar process when you're opening a removal, when you place kids in foster care, and you also have to do a service authorization when kids go into care because we have to pay the foster parents, which is already pre-populated in this particular example for Janessa. So let's say I wanted to start a service authorization for core services because she's going to be, for example, going to therapy. So the first thing I want to do is to hit clear to open up a new line for documentation, and I'm going to go over here to the only button that's really helpful, which is the Find button. And essentially what we're going to do is if we don't know the provider ID, for example, the therapist's provider ID, Trails does have the option of doing some searching for you. So we're going to start out in the Find Provider window. We're going to enter the following information in order to search for our provider. So under Service Category, as you can see, that's yellow, so that means it's mandatory. I'm going to pick Core Services, although we do have a whole bunch of different options here, but we're trying to find a Core Services to do a service authorization. Next, I want to pick what service type I'm looking for, and let's say that Janessa needed to do sexual abuse treatment. So this is the different types of core services that are available. You'll learn more about this in the fundamentals. And they're all alphabetical, so I'm going to scroll down because there's many of them. And I'm going to go to sexual abuse treatment. Then it has a box for service detail, also mandatory, and it has the option of ongoing core services by DSS. That means that the Department of Human Services, previously known as the Department of Social Services, that's where that acronym comes from. The ongoing core service by DSS would be an in-house provider or ongoing service by a non-DSS provider. So essentially an in-house provider, meaning they work at social services or out in the community. So I'm going to pick ongoing services by non-DSS. So I'm going to click on Find and see what options I have. And look at that. Staying Safe is actually the therapist that I wanted to find for Janessa. So I'm going to click on OK, and that brings Staying Safe as a sexual abuse treatment provider here into focus. So I would want to put the start date over here. Today is June 14th, 2017. And you do have the option, if you wanted to put in more details about the different core services, you can certainly fill out these additional tabs as well. I did want to note that generally if you work in a large county and maybe a mid-sized county, generally the service authorizations for core services or even for foster homes or kinship homes that are certified is generally filled out by county fiscal staff. So you actually may not be the one to complete the service authorization, but we just wanted to show you how to do that, at least the bare minimum in this particular video. So if you haven't filled out the Part 4A of the FSP, that would be your next step in terms of entering information for core services in Trails, and that's a separate microburst video that I would refer you to now. So that's it for this video.